Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I hope you've had a wonderful week. Today, I am talking about loops. Loops as our shadow aspect, because the loops are something that we all get stuck in. And loops are one of those things, they're patterns, cycles that we get stuck in that we unconsciously just kind of keep going around in circles. These can be mindsets, belief systems, many different things in terms of even just unconscious behavior, addictions, so many things. And we've all probably got several loops that we kind of keep going around in. And those are really important things for us to see. Because if we don't see the loops, we just keep circling. Sort of like being on a hamster wheel. It keeps us from being in a state of alignment. It keeps us out of our potential. And it keeps us even out of a state of creativity, this is the card I pulled today. See, but Keeper of Creativity. And the creativity is a really important aspect of our being because we get a lot of fulfillment out of that creative energy. And the loops just sort of drain you or keep you unaware, let's say. And so many times I see people are in loops and don't even realize the patterns that they're stuck in. So loops are a really important subject in terms of our evolvement. Because when we're stuck in the loops, we just continue doing the same things. Different circumstances, but the same behaviors, right? So being stuck in those loops, I just want to emphasize how important it is when you see loops that you stop and recognize what you've just witnessed. So this is a practice of presence, definitely, because you've got to be in presence in order to catch these loops. And if you continue in the loops, these are a lot of situations of victim mentality is one aspect of it that I see a lot. And I used to be stuck in victim mentality for most of my life. And being free of that loop of victim mentality is is like cement. If you're stuck in victim mentality, it is so hard to see. It is so hard to get yourself out of. And it's an aspect of so many people's lives. And it can be even very subtle. For some people, it's very pronounced. And for others, it can be very subtle. I think it's important to recognize that The victim mentality is a loop that makes you feel powerless. It makes you feel like you have no control. And it's really a matter of kind of passing that blame for all the things that happen in your life onto other people and onto just life in general. Even God sometimes. Like people are like, oh, why did God do this to me? Those are things, those beliefs, that mindset just rob you of your life, really, your entire life. And the victim mentality, it's one loop. It can be many loops wrapped up in that one loop, but that's one loop. Addiction, like I talked of earlier, the addiction is a loop. Food can be a loop. Eating, not, depending on food for comfort, those sort of things. Loops can even be other forms of powerlessness, other ways in which you or we think we are powerless. And we don't really want to step into that power. Belief systems, right? Beliefs of I'm not good enough, I can't do this. And so loops, that's a huge part of everyone's lives, and I think so prominent today. It is something that we all struggle with. And even when you are very present and very aware, you get caught up in the daily stuff, and it's a continual practice that never ends, really, because you've got to always sort of be on the lookout. You always have to be in that presence, the state of alignment, because alignment is key. When you're aligned in your being, when you're aligned and present in your body, when you're just going through the day-to-day motions, that presence and that alignment really helps you catch those moments of when you're looping. And then you can ask yourself the questions, why am I, maybe it's why am I eating this particular food right now when I'm not even hungry? Or why do I feel like I need to come home and numb out in front of a TV? All of these loops are distracting us and pulling our energy away from what's really important, which is a daily focus, really a daily practice to reach potential, be in a state of creativity. Those loops really keep us from achieving those things. So this is sort of ties into last week in that sense. And I think, I mean, really every week ties into the next thing, because these are things we're all struggling with and we all need to work on. Some of us may be at different levels than others, but seeing the loops, oh God, is so important. That is so important. And not judging yourself when you catch yourself in a loop, but just having compassion. Sitting in that state of compassion to say, oh, okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. I see that when I'm feeling scared or when I'm feeling anxious, I fall back to food, or I fall back onto alcohol. I fall back into scrolling on my phone. Whatever it is for you. And you may have multiple. Like I said, this is something that we all struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And so this isn't to point out anything wrong. With you, it's to point out the way that we go about our day-to-day life unconscious. Because those loops are the place where we carry that unconscious behavior. We do it without even thinking because it's some form of comfort, numbing out, whatever it is for you. And being in that alignment state, being in the presence, keeping those, ever present awareness in the back of your mind is so key. Finding the loops and breaking the loops. Because ultimately, that's what you want to do. When I was talking earlier of victim mentality within my own life, with my past history of so many people, so many loved ones in my life dying from suicide, it kept me in loops for a long time over that. I really had this state of, why do these people not love me enough to stick around for me, is one thing that I looped in, like being unlovable. So at the core of that was this fear of not being lovable. And when you kind of dig into those loops and you see, oh, okay, this is a loop, this thought pattern that I'm having, this behavior that I'm displaying when I have this anxiety, loops. It's all about loops. And most people are so stuck in loops all day that it is very hard to start seeing those loops. But when you do, it becomes easier and easier to identify the loops. And like I said, if you identify a loop, kind of step back, take a step back with compassion and without judgment. Look at those places where you're finding the loops and sit with it. Just see what it feels like. Ask yourself questions. Be in that state of alignment where you're truly seeing and you're being honest with yourself, because that's another really hard part of loops is you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. And don't just pass it off when you see it and, oh, it's no big deal. Because it really is, if you want to grow as a human being into a place of higher consciousness. You've got to start catching the loops. You've got to start seeing those, being honest with yourself, and sort of remedying that situation, because that is the way that you're going to get to potential. And the potential is, as we talked about before, it's so important to your life in terms of fulfillment. Because what are you doing here? What's your purpose here? If you're not living a fulfilled life, there's empty parts of you that are wondering and searching for more. You know there's this potential for more. You want this potential of more, but you've got to do the work, catch the loops, break the loops, so that you're not running constantly on a hamster wheel. And then once you get to that place where you're able to identify and see those things, then you're going to be in a place where you can bring creativity through your body. Because where you were looping before and constantly doing the things that you're doing to uphold the loops, when you start breaking the loops, it brings space. into your being. The presence, the alignment. The more truthful, the more honest you are with yourself, the more space you bring into yourself. And that space is potential. Back to the potential. The potential is our creativity. Like as beings, we are creative beings. We are creators. That's what we're here to do. We're here to create a better world. And you just cannot really be in a state of creativity when you're looping constantly. So that's why the loops are so important to see. And remedy. Right? So this is a really basic, quick and easy one today. You know, my talk's quick and easy. The chore of finding those loops, that's not so easy. Seeing those loops, even just being present with those loops, that's not easy. It's hard work. It takes dedication. It takes time. But the more you do it, the more you see the loops, the more you identify, the more you fix, the easier and the easier and the easier it gets. And the more you break the loops, the more you come into a state of freedom. Because that kind of goes hand in hand with the creativity. Freedom is a huge part of, it's that space, you know, that potential space that comes in. That's freedom. Loops are like chains. Chains keep you down. When you get into that space of freedom where your creativity can blossom, such a different place. It's literally like being planted in a whole new life once you break free from the loops. Being caught in loops is like being in a prison because you're sort of a slave to your life. And that's no fun for anyone. Being in a state of receptivity and creativity, those things are freedom. Back to the freedom. So that's it for today. I mean, really, it's very simple and just something to be aware of, because just being aware of those little things and loving yourself through those little things when you break those patterns, because your subconscious, your ego is not going to like it when you start breaking those patterns. It's going to fight against you like crazy. But you can do it. Start with small things. Whatever you notice that comes up, you can do this. You can definitely do this. So I'm sending you all so much love. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Let me know in the comments if you've noticed any loops in your life lately. Like the video, please. Subscribe if you haven't, if you're so inclined. Share with someone who you might think might this video be useful for. And thank you so much. I love you all and I appreciate you.